Good morning and welcome to the Diamond Report for Wednesday, July 5th, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 8:04 a.m. on the 5th, and I'm also going to cover news from the 4th. I was too busy yesterday to actually do a Diamond Report, so I thought I'd cover the 4th and 5th so far today, all in one show. As you can see, we're looking at Earthquake 3D, and yesterday, on the 4th at about 11 a.m. Central Time, we had a magnitude 5.9 earthquake strike off the coast of Chile. That was the biggest earthquake that we've had in the last few days, really. Now, looking at Earthquake 3D, for some reason some of my feeds are not loading in for the moment, so I'm going to keep this short. But we also had a magnitude 3.2 that was very shallow strike Southern California yesterday. And that is not showing up on my feed right now. It was yesterday, so I think something's just amiss as far as the technical issue with the software here. It's not loading in all the earthquake feeds because we're only seeing a couple of quakes here in, I guess, in Southern California and the area of Baja California. So, and that's not right. I know there's quite a few 2s and 3s along the east coast, along the west coast. So we'll come back and do another earthquake update probably later tonight to fully cover the July 5th time frame. And as you can see, we've got multiple magnitude 5s all across the Western Pacific. And again, some of my feeds are not loading in. So we'll come back and address this later. The main thing I wanted to show you was that we had a magnitude 5.9, so near 6.0. And some of the agencies that report these quakes were reporting it as a 6.0 or 6.1. I'm going to go with the 5.9 officially, but, you know, it's basically a 6.0 off the coast of Chile. Chile is a very active area. So, again, we'll come back and look at some more earthquakes in the next, you know, probably less than a day. I'll record the July 5th show tonight. And even though it's July 5th, the morning of right now, not much news has happened yet. So we'll come back and catch that up later tonight. Let's move on to the headlines. The NATO chief says that recent cyber attacks are a call to arms. Thomas Jefferson's historic Monticello home is hit by a cyber attack ahead of the busy 4th of July weekend. New Trump travel ban rules visa applicants from 6 Muslim-majority nations and all refugees will require close family or business ties to the U.S., and it starts today. This was dated June 29th, so a few days ago. North Korea slams U.S. over unjust offer of talks and warns rivals that they are making a fatal miscalculation if they believe the UN sanctions will deter it from developing nuclear weapons. India beefs up military presence along the border with China as conflict looms. That's on Sputnik News. South Korea's new leader vows to stand with Trump against Pyongyang as he makes first visit to Washington. Islamic State sympathizer shouting Allah Akbar vandalizes prominent French monument. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Protesters surround the Qatar embassy chanting "Stop killing Christians, stop terror." That's on Breitbart. Help us, help us, Swedish National Police Commissioner begs as number of no-go zones rises. In an X22 report, the world is being distracted on purpose. Here's why. Telecom giant AT&T will neutralize Jeff Zucker after $85 billion CNN merger due to ongoing fake news stories. Rebellion at the New York Times newsroom to walk out after decrying direction of paper. That's on Zero Hedge. A quick glance at bunkers that will house thousands during a nuclear attack. It's on shtfplan.com. And on Survival Dan 101, will you go silently to the slaughter? We need to learn from the horrible experience of the Holocaust so that we're ready. And from Mike Adams on Natural News, Obama accidentally exposes the Russia hoax. Quote, no serious person believes the Russians could rig America's elections. You don't hear about that in the mainstream media, do you? The last time the fake news media whipped up a witch hunt frenzy, innocent people went to jail. That's on Natural News as well. Shocking study shows the mere presence of a smartphone reduces brain power even when it's off. That's on the Free Thought Project. Yeah, I got rid of my smartphone back in May of 2015, so well over 2 years at this point. I don't miss it one bit. I suggest you do the same. There are so many reasons to get rid of those stupid phones, people. I'm telling you, they are enslaving you to technology, and you don't even realize it. Senator Durbin refuses to release his emails with the gunman who shot Congressman Scalise. That's on Freedom Outpost. And from Breitbart, Paris gets a no-go zone warning app. Oh, isn't that handy? Tells you where not to go in Paris because of the Muslims. U.S. invents a chemical weapons threat and claims it defeats the threat by warning Syria, Iran, and Russia. That's on Activist Post. And another one from Activist Post, new invasive measures are coming to your local airport. Talking about fingerprint scans and so forth. A nuclear strike would be as grave a war crime as it is possible to conceive. That's on Sputnik News. You don't say. Keep prepping because the government's plan to survive nuclear war doesn't include you. That's on Natural News. Well, you gotta love Project Veritas. We want to shut the mainstream media down for the liars they are. That's on Sputnik News. James O'Keefe is definitely a man that you should be holding in high regard. If you don't know who he is, check out the Project Veritas website. They are constantly exposing CNN for what they really are. The New World Order LGBT agenda to make you a criminal. That's on SGT Report. And from the Free Thought Project, conspiracy theory confirmed. Federal Reserve exposed working as arm of U.S. intelligence. Top Canadian court permits worldwide internet censorship. That's on wolfstreet.com. Across the globe, pedophile networks are on the run. More pressure needs to be applied. That's from Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show. Furious China is outraged by the U.S. sale of $1.4 billion in weapons to Taiwan. The Fed is preparing to make the rich poorer. That's according to B of A, Bank of America. Another CNN producer exposed by Project Veritas. American voters are stupid as Shiite. Israeli jets attacked Syrian troops in the Golan Heights for the 4th time in a week. That's on Sputnik News. And on silverdoctors.com, the coming stock market crash will take everything down at once. Bank of America's forecast of when the Fed will crash the stock market. According to a German court, Sharia police can enforce Islamic law on the streets. Pope Francis offers early retirement to priest caught raping children. Well, I'm sure he got quite a severance package. China tells India to stop clamoring for war and learn lessons of 1962 defeat. Robot pizza company Zoom can create 372 pizzas per hour using dough bots and deliver it in 4 minutes. That sounds healthy, doesn't it? Every person labeled a, quote, conspiracy theorist for declaring CNN to be fake news was just completely vindicated. That's on Natural News. Well, I don't let people call me a conspiracy theorist. I always insist that they call me a conspiracy analyst. There's a vast difference. Artificial meat warning. The Health Ranger reveals all that you're not being told about fake meat grown in labs. That's on Natural News. And also this one from Natural News. Fecal bacteria found in Starbucks drinks, says a report. I posted that to my Facebook page the other day and had a great comment from somebody who said that it brings new meaning to the word CRAPpuccino. Parents shocked as school cop was arrested for kidnapping and raping a student. Quote, I was wrong. Judge admits jailing people for pot haunts him after cannabis saved his life. From Paul Craig Roberts, Washington has been at war for 16 years. Why? Well, that's because of the military-industrial complex, and the folks running it are perpetual warmongers because of all the money they make. Antis offer meds again. Democrat leader Maxine Waters wants President Trump impeached and exiled. That's on the Gateway Pundit. From Natural News, government-funded proton beam cancer treatment wipes the entire memory of a teenage girl. Was this an experiment for memory wiping technology? Well, it sure sounds like it. The American people are the #1 target. They are tightening the screws. That's on shtfplan.com. America's fertility rate falls to record low. That's on Zero Hedge. Part of that is the constant exposure we all have to cell phones and Wi-Fi, constantly zapping us and microwaving us. It's freedom of religion. Fury as school told to stop teaching offensive Bible passages. That's on the Express. ISIS massacres hundreds as jihadis target thousands of Christians to build a new caliphate. What are they hiding? Democrat state officials refuse to assist President Trump's voter fraud investigation. That's on the Gateway Pundit. 25 House Democrats back a bill to impeach President Trump. That's on Zero Hedge. Baby death panel. Court rules baby must die even though parents can pay out of pocket. President Trump tweets the New World Order back to hell. Julian Assange hits back at death threats from tolerant liberals and lashes out at the mainstream media. That's on RT. And from Breitbart, updated Ramadan Rage 2017 final death count, 1,639 in about 30 countries. And from Breitbart as well, African cardinal in the Vatican urges Europe to turn off the faucet of immigration. University considers removal of Bibles and crosses from the chapel. That's on Breitbart. Defense Secretary Mattis delays letting transgender people into the armed services by 6 months to evaluate how the policy change will impact the military's readiness and lethality. And more NASA nonsense. Infinity and Beyond, astronaut Buzz Aldrin celebrates the president's executive order reestablishing the National Space Council with Vice President Pence at the helm. And from Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show, Trump care is a disaster and will prove fatal to millions of Americans. And from the Free Thought Project, Bayer accidentally funds study showing its pesticide is killing bees, and then promptly denies the conclusions. Gender-confused liberals berate women-only spa for not allowing male genitals to be displayed by transgenders. Huh? That's on Natural News. Thanks to fake news from CNN, New York Times, and Washington Post, journalism is now officially dead across the establishment media. Yes, but it's alive and well in the alternative media. Study says solar panels a looming toxic crisis. The toxicity of solar panels is something that Dane Wigington talks about quite a bit on geoengineeringwatch.org. Obama slams Trump and American nationalism in speech to Muslims at Indonesian Congress in Jakarta. These two events speak of the inevitability of World War III. That's from Dave Hodges. And from Zero Hedge, Chris Christie announces New Jersey government shutdown, orders state of emergency. That's from Sunday. What will the deep state do with workers displaced by automation, genocide, or population control? That's from Dave Hodges. Illinois economic collapse is near. 2 other states will follow in its footsteps. That's on shtfplan.com. French president says he's too smart to talk to ordinary people. On Breitbart, James O'Keefe from Project Veritas says this is the year that we end fake news. And from The Hill, a White House aide says the fake news complex is collapsing. And from ReadyNutrition.com, this emergency food storage tip could be a lifesaver if the grid goes down in the summer. Left-wing publisher Mother Jones wants you to eat more toxic GMOs and inject your children with more vaccines and hate Trump. That's on Natural News. Government forces murder 4 more protesters in Venezuela, bringing the death toll to 80. That's on Zero Hedge. New report warns that nuclear war is inevitable unless cooler heads prevail. That's on the antimedia.org as well as Zero Hedge. And from Dave Hodges, what to avoid if you need to, quote, bug out. Michael Snyder of the Economic Collapse blog, just like our founders 241 years ago, we need to unashamedly declare that our rights come to us from God. Trump calls China and Japan leaders to discuss North Korea and gets a warning from Beijing instead. Germany and Italy meet for emergency talks as EU migrant crisis reaches the boiling point. That's on the Express. Far-right extremist is arrested for plotting to shoot French President Emmanuel Macron in front of Trump on Bastille Day after trying to buy an AK-47 online. Facebook's solar-powered drone has successful test flight, potential internet access to billions. Well, that can't be a good thing. Talking wireless here, folks. Gonna blanket the entire world in wireless and Wi-Fi and cell phone radiation. We're not going to be able to escape it. And from Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show, Hollywood is no longer calling for assassinating Trump. They want an all-out civil war. Well, actually, I think it's both. They want him assassinated, but they also want the civil war. Thousands of anti-Trump protesters from George Soros-funded resistance movement call for impeachment. Defiant Chris Christie defends using the beach that he closed to the public during New Jersey government's shutdown after lying and saying that he didn't get any sun. The fake media is trying to silence us. Trump renews war with the press as he warns that journalists will eventually have to report on his accomplishments. Horror of ISIS sex slave app. Virgins put on sale by twisted jihadis. So sick. U.S. planes caught sneaking ISIS terrorists out of Syria. Trump's anti-CNN wrestling tweet is his second most popular tweet of all time. That's on the Gateway Pundit. John Pizzagate Podesta forced to testify before Congress, but a media blackout. And on Natural News, working at Amazon is a soul-crushing experience. Is this coming soon for Whole Foods workers? My guess is yes. Baltimore has turned into a Democratic wasteland with 6 schools that can't even produce a single student proficient in English or math. Reminder, CNN sponsored a Trump assassination play. Kushner, Ivanka, Soros, Schumer, and more mingle in the Hamptons. That's on the Daily Caller. Did Holder just deliver an activation signal for a coup against Trump? That's from Dave Hodges. Also this one from Dave. CIA and the deep state forcing hungry Venezuelan girls into sex trafficking rings. Confirmed pesticides really are decimating the honeybee pollinators by killing workers and the queens. That's on Natural News. And on Gateway Pundit, CNN's viewership tanks in June after a string of fake news stories and O'Keefe videos and assault by the POTUS. Breaking, Donald Trump would be delighted to help terminally ill baby Charlie Gard. Once only blacks were enslaved, now we all are. Democracy does not exist in America. All the bombast you will hear on the 4th is designed to keep you locked in the matrix. That's from Paul Craig Roberts. He's right. Microsoft is preparing to lay off thousands of employees, according to a report. And on silverdoctors.com, a ban on cash is coming. Democrats stole votes in 29 states. Trump needs to prosecute under RICO organized crime laws. On Zero Hedge, Italian ports bombarded with migrants. Interior Minister demands other EU nations, quote, step up. Italy on the brink. Now a third Italian bank demands cash injection as it sinks in bad loans. North Korea launches its first ever ICBM that can reach Alaska. And North Korea releases chilling photos of nuke missile launch. That's on the Daily Star. States across the U.S. celebrate freedom this 4th with no refusal, DUI, and blood draw checkpoints. Sounds like the vampire cops are at it again. And even more along those lines, war, prison, and spying celebrate freedom on the 4th of July is now purely symbolic. That's on the Free Thought Project. Either Bitcoin will fail because the government will outlaw it, or Bitcoin is a government invention meant to enslave. That's on silverdoctors.com. Missile launched by North Korea was intermediate range, not ICBM, Russian Defense Ministry says. That's on RT. The future of multicultural Europe, German city with the most immigrants, also has the most crime. That's on shtfplan.com. Global warming alarmists have jumped the shark. Stephen Hawking claims climate change could turn Earth into Venus. Well, Dane Wigington talks about, the Earth changing into Venus. It's called Venus syndrome. He talks about it all the time on geoengineeringwatch.org. Talking about the truth does not make you an alarmist. It makes you a truth teller. Stephen Hawking, who I do not agree with, and I don't even think it's the real Stephen Hawking, that's a sidebar there, talks about this and refers to climate change. Now remember, you cannot have a legitimate discussion about climate change without also talking about geoengineering, which no one ever does. At that level, when people mention climate change, it's always blaming CO2, which of course is a problem, but geoengineering is a far worse problem. And the Earth is turning into Venus little by little. House Democrat introduces a bill to enhance removal of president from power. That's on Freedom Outpost. Independence Day shocker. Communist Chinese are better custodians of the economy than the Democrat Party. That's on the Gateway Pundit. And exactly what the eugenicists want. Playing God. End to sex in 30 years. As parents will design their babies in the lab. That will be, of course, if they have the freedom to do so. According to a report, 65% of U.S. banks fail cybersecurity test. Between inauguration and July, President Trump saves the U.S. $1 trillion when compared to Obama. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Swedish intelligence says the country now has 2,000 radical violent Islamists. The new twisted logic from deranged Democrats. Since healthcare reform is killing people, the people should murder Republicans first. That's on Natural News. And this sounds about right. As Americans celebrate independence, U.S. bombs yet another sovereign nation. Julian Assange destroys liberals and conservatives and shows how they're the same in an epic tweet storm. That's on Activist Posts. 7 fast facts about the economic collapse of Illinois. Putin and China agree to crush North Korea nuclear risk in a joint alliance threatening the U.S. For America to survive, we must declare independence from Big Pharma's failed medical monopoly. That's on Natural News. Illegal immigrant arrests doubling under Trump. That's on Breitbart. And China's warships and jets swoop in, warning to world amid North Korea missile test. And from John Rappaport, which completely screwed up healthcare bill do you want? The mainstream media is now advocating that all citizens spend time in prison as a service to the country. That's on Activist Post. Well, obviously we should start with the people in the mainstream media. They should be the first volunteers to go spend time in prison. And from Dave Hodges, World War III is ready to break out on 3 continents. Are you prepared? Well, that's it for this morning's Diamond Report. I will be back tonight with another follow-up on today's news, today being the 5th. And I'll put together another show for tonight and have it posted in the morning. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.